Hello, hello, and welcome back. Now, like we promised before, we have a special talk show. This is our first talk show for the day. So before we dive into today's discussion, let's remember that health is our most valuable asset, but it can be hard to maintain.
Indeed, it can be challenging to maintain, and that is why developing good habits early is the key to preventing health issues and improving quality of life. And one way to do this is through smart health technology.
Yes. From wearable devices to advanced rehab tools, smart tech is becoming essential for fitness, especially in sports. Smartwatches and smart rings are two great examples.
Yes, if you're into intense workouts and want to track your progress, monitor sleep, and reach your goals, these devices can definitely help. And of course, to discuss how smart technology can enhance your health and well-being, we have sports medicine doctor, Dr. Sophia Hage, to talk about this issue right now.
Good morning.
Good morning, Marissa.
Great to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. So when we talk about smart technology, so what kind of smart technology that are currently available to help enhance our health, Dr.
Yeah.
Sophia?
So for starters, we're going to talk about functions. So one, there's a heart monitor, and then there's also a sleep monitor,
Yes.
and then there's also glucose monitoring.
Yeah.
Okay.
So heart monitors, usually in a clinical setting, we use a chest strap.
Yes.
But nowadays, we can actually use watches, smart watches, and we can even use our phone to detect our heart rate, and then also the rhythm, is it regular or irregular? And with glucose monitoring, usually what we use is the prick test. So
Yes.
we prick our finger, and then we put it in a monitor, and then it reads our blood level,
Correct.
right? Now, there's a continuous glucose monitor where we can use it for 14 days straight, tracks our blood level for 24 hours, 7 days a week. So it becomes very easy for us to then see our level of blood glucose every day.
Right.
And then the third one is the sleep monitor. Usually, we use the chest strap, and then we use a mask to kind of figure out or find out what we are doing when we sleep and how are our sleep quality. Now, we can also use smartwatch or a ring to actually know whether we're actually sleeping well, how's the quality of our sleep, are we getting the rest that we need, how's our heart rate, how much hours do we have in deep sleep, and stuff like that in our fingers or our wrists.
Well,
Yes.
that's true. You know, like since 3 years ago, I
Yes.
started to use. I'm not wearing it now,
I'm
but I
wearing
use
one right now.
You're wearing one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one. That's one of
Smartwatch.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I use smartwatch as well, but you know, some people they actually consider themselves as what we call it gaptech, right?
All right, like Luddites.
Would
yes.
that be a challenge for like some people to actually maintain their health through this type of devices?
Good question. Now, wearables are very easy, user-friendly, right? So it's very easily navigated. So what I can see it as actually it's a way for us, it's like a window to our health, right? In Indonesia, we have this peribahasa, this saying that if you don't know someone, you don't love them. So tak kenal maka tak sayang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I would also say that if we don't know ourselves, if we don't know our body, if we don't know how our body functions, then we don't know how to take care of it.
That is
and
right.
this is our first home, actually, right? So if we don't take care of our home, our investment, our health, then we're not taking care of ourselves.
And I guess wearables also kind of shift the responsibility of taking care of our health from doctors or
Yes.
medical practitioners to ourselves, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do we maximize these wearables to help us maintain or even enhance our health? I mean, what are the things that we have to pay attention to when we're using these wearables? How do we read the data, and how do we make the changes we need to maintain our health?
That's a very good question. So, one, we have to understand that this is a tool.
It's a tool.
Like any other technology, right? Like our phone, like our tabs, like our laptop. It's a tool. It's not us. So the tool can only be as good as our understanding towards ourselves and the science behind it. So that's why I always say the data is there for you to use it, but it depends how you use it. And sometimes we don't have the breadth of knowledge to actually understand what to do with it. So my first question would be, what is your goal? And if the goal is, well, I just want to know, or this is my first step into looking at how my body functions, then you can just look at how your heart rate fluctuates,
Exactly.
how your blood level fluctuates with different foods. Track your food and then see how your blood level rises and falls.
Yes.
And how do you sleep if you drink alcohol? Or how do you sleep if you don't drink alcohol? How do you sleep after a session of meditation? How is your heart rate responding to a session of meditation or to high intensity interval training? So that's something that you can do by yourself. But the next level or the next step would be somebody like, we've had a chat before, so I know Tommy is preparing for a marathon.
Hey, Tommy boy, okay.
So the next step would be, if you're trying to achieve a certain goal or a certain performance, in this instance, example would be trying to finish a marathon, then you would really want to spend time or invest time in the exercises or the physical activity that would benefit your heart or cardiac performance. So then you would want to, how do I maximize my time? For instance, I only have 30 minutes every day. How do I maximize it so that I can get to finishing a marathon healthily and safely? And how do I track that? So that would be, you cannot do that alone. You have to have an expert, like a sports medicine doctor, or even cardiac doctor, right? It's a cardiologist. So then you can consult with the data that you have, but that's going to be better than just coming in empty and saying that I want to finish marathon. Do you know your heart rate? I don't.
Yes.
Are you tracking your progress? I am not. Do you know how you sleep? I don't really, right? So coming in informed and going to an expert saying that this is what I have, what do I do? That's going to be the optimal goal.
Yeah, finish happily and strongly as well. Because sometimes, bad things happen to even youngsters in marathon race, for example. They want to just finish fast. They want to do, a certain type of pace, for example. But in the end, they're actually having a problem with their heart rate, with their sleep as well.
And then they get injured. And then they don't finish strong. They actually had to go to the medic tent. That's something that we can actually prevent. So when people say that, well, bad things can happen, true. But are you doing the things that you can do to stop it from happening?
You can prevent it basically. And as a medical doctor and also someone who's very I know Dr. Sophie for a while now, for 10 years, and she's the type of doctor who just very reluctantly give medicine because she wants to prevent instead of like giving solutions or giving medicines. So you also experimented with health wearables, right? I mean, you actually did
the CGM, the continuous glucose monitoring.
Yes. What was your experience?
Right?
So, what was your experience, and how has that changed your, like the health decisions that you make in your life?
So I'm pretty sure there are many of us who get sleepy in the hours of the afternoon, probably after lunch, like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. drowsiness, right? So that's very common. And I was subject to that as well. So what I learned from actually wearing the 14 days continuous glucose monitoring is that I see how my blood sugar level stays high or low throughout the day. And I found out that if I skip breakfast and then I have lunch, it goes down, or what we call a sugar crash. So the blood level goes really steep down very fast if I don't have breakfast. Because my breakfast is usually just coffee, no sugar, right? So
same here, actually. I just want to say.
No, the three of us.
Oh my God. Okay.
And that is causing the dip in the blood sugar level at 3 p.m., 4 p.m. So then, what I experimented with, I decided that, okay, then let's have something to have in the morning, as simple as a bowl of oats or a fruit. So yes,
that's good.
An apple or just a bowl of fruits like kiwi sliced and stuff like that.
How about like omelette, for example? Is it okay?
That's what I was experimenting, right? And then I saw that with having breakfast, my blood sugar after lunch didn't crash so badly. And then what's more interesting is the difference of the type of breakfast. With the sweet breakfast, I still crash. I still have that drowsiness at 3 p.m., 4 p.m.
Okay.
But not as bad as without breakfast. But the best solution for my body, and this is not for, it might not be for everyone,
Yes.
but this is an example of what you can do to your own schedule in daily life. When I have savory breakfast, like omelette, right? Like an oatmeal, then the blood sugar doesn't really crash. It goes down very smoothly.
Which is good. It means that your energy is up throughout the day.
Exactly, and you don't get sleepy.
And this is the thing, right? It means that each person's body is different.
Different.
Because
Yeah.
your body may react differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I also told Dr. Sophie before, it's like, Soph, I always feel super sleepy at around midday and at 1. And then she asked me, do you have breakfast? No. Well, I mean, it's like not everybody actually experience gut problem when they don't eat. Some people experience sleepiness. I'm like, I get it. And then I changed my habits.
And then what happened?
I have a little croissant, like savory
Yeah.
croissant in the morning, just plain. My energy stays. I can maintain my energy better. So
good. Yeah.
consider breakfast, Mom.
All right. Fair enough. Well, I eat fruits now and sometimes omelette, but I avoid, sweet stuff in the morning.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot, yeah.
Yeah. So there is a general rule, right? We know generally that sugar is bad for you.
Yeah.
But what kind of sugar and how bad is it for us?
Yes.
That's the things that we can learn if we use these wearables. And of course, it might be different, like Marissa said, it might be different from me to you. Like for instance, I'm pretty sure for this marathon preparation, you run.
Yeah.
So how is the energy utilization different? Because you run, it might be different from
Yes.
my energy utilization because I might not be running as intense and as a bigger volume as you do.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Can smart technology prolong our life?
Very good question.
Because everybody wants
Yeah,
to live
yeah.
forever.
Yes, now we talk about lifespan and health span nowadays,
Yes.
right? Usually the goal is to live
Long.
forever and ever, long, right?
Yeah.
But now the paradigm is shifting to health span. It's not only how long you live, it's how well you live.
Yeah.
So it's the quality of your life.
Yes,
your health.
exactly. What's the quality of your life? And one study shows that to have a good quality of life, and a long one, hopefully, is actually to take care of our heart. Cardiac health or heart health is very beneficial. And the one thing that we can do in our daily life is to monitor our heart rate.
What's the good heart rate, doctor?
So in resting position, right, is between 60 to 80. Anything,
80.
yes.
On one. Okay.
Exactly. Now we're talking.
He's a run.
So anything above 80 means you're activated, right? There are certain cases where if you're anxious, if you're afraid, or if you're exercising, that's why there's a zone 2 exercise for runners. So in that sense, our heart is working more than in a resting position. It's working heavier. And that's why the heart rate is elevated. But if you're resting and your heart rate is above 80, that means something might be wrong.
Okay.
For instance, is your fitness level unfit? You have a very low fitness level. You're not exercising. You're very sedentary. Is it that you're actually constantly overstimulated? You're constantly anxious. That's why your nervous system is activated and your heart level is always above 80. Or you're not sleeping well. You're not recovering well. So it seems like you're overtraining when instead you're actually not getting the recovery that you need. But again, these answers you can get as simple as seeing how your heart rate goes up and down throughout the day with different activities. So how can you prolong life? Get to know your heart rate or get to
Right
know
now
your
it's 101. Because I'm excited.
Yes.
Yeah, you're excited, huh? You are excited, Marissa.
Yes.
Subject.
But what are the potential drawbacks when we relying too much on this, tools?
Yeah, because sometimes I feel like, okay, when I first got this watch, I felt like I constantly monitor myself. It's like, and I feel like, why am I doing this? I
Yes.
don't like this. I like to have autonomy. I
Yes.
don't want a tool to control me.
Yes, that's a very normal response. It becomes then like social media. It becomes then the wearable controls us.
Yes.
When in fact, we are only as good as how we manage whatever that we have in our life. Time, technology, social media. right? So it's not the social media or the wearable that controls us.
Yes.
We need to control it. We need to manage it. We need to, it's just a tool, right? So some people would then just chase numbers.
Yes.
For instance,
Correct.
I need to be between 60 to 80.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
And
yet-
VO2 max needs to be
Yes.
45 or
Exactly.
50, whatever.
I need to get to this number, whatever it takes, right?
Yes, yes.
But they don't understand the context.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, when you check, oh my God, I'm at 100. Does this mean I'm unhealthy? No, it means you're excited.
Yeah.
You're very much now actually elevated, right? So it's a very normal response. Then it doesn't become a warning sign. But sometimes we don't understand the context, or we don't want to understand the context. We just chase the numbers and we forget what really is the goal of wearing these wearables. It's actually for us to be more productive, to be more optimal, to be happy, to not actually, I was talking to Tommy, sometimes if we want to achieve a certain goal, of course we can achieve it by doing trial and errors.
Yes.
These wearables should be a shortcut. That's why the term health hacking becomes very common.
Yes, that's correct.
Health hacking, or whatever hacking that you want,
Yeah.
is basically a shortcut, right?
Yes.
And that is what it's supposed to be, a shortcut, not a remote control to your life.
Right.
Not something that you feel like you need to control.
Yes.
It needs to be something that you use wisely and optimum.
Yeah.
Is it right for some people who decided not to focusing on one aspect, for example, heart rate? Because there's some trainers who said, no, I'm not focusing on HR right now. Would that be okay for that?
That really depends on what your goal is.
Okay.
So again, get to know yourself, but the next level would be then what is your goal? If you're trying to finish a marathon and your cardio endurance or your VO2 max is already good, it's at an acceptable rate to finish a marathon, then you want to focus on, and I'm talking runners' terms here, cadence.
Yeah, cadence. Yeah.
You want to,
I'm like,
Steps in
what?
what's that, Tom?
like how many steps in?
Yes.
Okay.
So in a minute, how many steps are you going? How many times
Yeah.
your feet touches the ground? So that's
okay.
the ground force on your feet.
Right, right.
So that's cadence, and that is usually what differentiates effective running versus inefficient running. So you want to. This is what we call running economics.
Yeah.
You want to exert as minimum force as possible to achieve the best result,
Yes.
like economy. So this is the running economics. How's your cadence, how's your pace, and how's your heart rate? But if you already take good care of the heart, your VO2 max is already good, then the next step would be cadence, pace, and everything else, right?
All right.
So that then becomes the next question. How good is your VO2 max? Because if that's not taken care of, my advice is to take care of that first.
All right.
The next step is later.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the first foundation.
So give us examples where health wearables can help us kick bad habits and create good habits to maintain our health, to heighten the quality of our health and lifespan.
Yes. So I always use this study to kind of drive the point that how data can be misused. One is, this study is about wine consumption. How many of us have heard that if you have one glass of wine,
Yeah, look at that grandma in Italy who's still living to the age of 95.
Exactly. You will improve your blood circulation and heart health.
Yes.
Wow. The study actually didn't report that every time that grandma in Italy had wine was with family, with interaction, social interaction, meaningful connection, right? That didn't translate to better sleep or better heart health. But the meaningful connection actually translates to better health because it makes her happy.
Yeah.
And it negates the whatever from the food, the greasy food that she takes and the lack of physical health. What we take is that it's okay to drink wine.
Every day.
Every day
I very
with my mates.
Yeah, exactly.
If we track our sleep, then we would know
Yes.
how is that one glass of wine
Yeah.
affecting my sleep?
Yes.
How is that 2 glasses of wine actually helps me recover after a long run on that day?
Yeah.
Or after an exercise on that day? that data, if we see, oh my God, after this one glass of wine, I actually didn't sleep well. My sleep hours, from 4 hours of deep sleep, I only get 2 hours of deep sleep. And that's something that the wearable can track.
Okay.
And it usually uses a composite score, right? So composite score, your rest today was 67, right? Or 65. But then if you compare with the days that you don't take a glass of wine, is that 78 or is that 80? Or maybe it doesn't affect. It could also happen, right?
That's true.
So for instance, like that grandma, right? Maybe it doesn't really affect her sleep
She's
because
happy.
she's not training for a marathon.
All right, Doc, one last question.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice for the viewers, especially considering to, get in touch more with the tools or, like we call it smart technology here, especially for their health?
So start where you are. This is not something for everyone, but this is something for some people who wants to start somewhere and want to bring something small in their daily life that maybe increases exponentially the quality of life, or to reach a certain goal like finishing a marathon. So if you're not sure whether or not, because that's always the question, right? So where do I start? Do I start buying a smartwatch? Which smartwatch? Should I start tracking my sleep? Should I download apps? Where do I start? If you're confused, talk to your doctor about it. Find out what your goal is. What's your health goal? And where do you want to be in the next 1 year or 3 years or even shorter, 6 months? I want to finish a marathon. Okay, so maybe this is best. So maybe let's start with a smartwatch. What kind of smartwatch? Depending on what you want to track, right? So there's a lot of smartwatches. There's a lot of technology. Sometimes we get confused.
Yeah, we do.
So seek an expert opinion.
Okay.
Talk to your doctor, decide what you want to wear, and use it wisely. Don't let it control you.
No.
And the third part is, you don't forget to change your habits.
Oh yeah, totally. I changed it ever since I consulted with you. And it's like, oh, I get it. I'm just going to experiment. It works.
Exactly. Don't just use that information to just think about it, but do it.
Do it. I feel so much better now. Well, thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's been nice.
So what kind of a habit change are you going to do after
Have
this?
breakfast of this.
But not nasi uduk or
No,
bubur
of course
ayam.
not. Of course not.
Anyways, we're set for a commercial break. When we return, we'll bring you the world headlines. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's really nice to talk to you outside of breakfast or brunch.
Yes.